There are three main auto follow-ups that are built right into the system. One is it'll send a reminder or confirmation text to your set estimates 24 hours before they're scheduled. It will auto follow up with your leads that you mark as unresponsive, and it'll also follow up with all your estimates that gave you a maybe, meaning they said like, let me think about it, other estimates, I need to talk to my husband or wife, that sort of thing. I'm going to cover all those in this video. And then just a quick note, you can watch the video on smart lists to get a more in-depth understanding of how to make lists. But if you're ever wondering like what contacts are going to be auto followed up with, you can just come to your contacts page and filter and search for all the contacts that are going to be auto followed up with, so you can easily see a list of them and manage them from there. These are pre-built into the system to help you get off to a great start, and so you don't have to do anything. If you wanted to change something like the timing or turn these off or anything like that, just shoot me an email and we'll make it happen. You can also create your own follow-ups through automation, and really the sky is the limit. I mean, if you can imagine it, you can most likely do it. But like I said, I just wanted to have something pre-configured and made so that you didn't have to do any work. It's ready to go out of the box based on my experience running a painting company. But before any of these will work, you do need to set up a phone number and get the A2P verification, as well as you need to get your email integrated and set up. Now, when you do that, it's also really important that under custom values, folders, onboarding, I would recommend putting in the phone number that you get in the system. And I would also put a name here under office admin name. If it's just you, put you or whoever you'd want some of these follow-ups to work from. So let me show you why. If you go to marketing, template snippets, all of the pre-written auto follow-ups will be right here. The confirmation text is right there in case you wanted to change it. Now, estimate follow-up, there's all of these right here. 6 emails, 6 texts, and then there's also not painting this year. That'll be the texts and emails that go out to estimates. And if we look at these emails, you can see at the bottom, it says thanks, username, custom values, CRM number. So that's why I recommend putting that phone number in there. If you don't, it's fine. I'll just leave it blank. So it'll just say thanks, whatever the estimator's name is. And obviously you can come in here and you could change this as well. If you don't want to use the CRM phone number, you could say, I want to use the user's phone, like that. Now this username makes sense because you want it to be coming from whoever did the estimate. However, for the automation of unresponsive leads, the text, it just signs it with the company name, which again, you can change, but the emails, it'll actually use whatever name you put in as the office admin in that custom values. Again, you could change this to username if all of your leads are assigned to somebody. But if your leads are not going to be assigned to somebody, then I would recommend putting a name in there just so that it comes from somebody. You can watch the video on assigning users to kind of get a better understanding of what I mean by that. But that's why I was recommending to fill out those 2 custom values. But the main point with this is you can adjust these to meet your needs and say whatever you like. I pre-wrote them for you so that you don't have to do any work, but if you wanted to add your own style, personality, or flavor, you have that option to do so. Let's talk about those automations. The first one is if you set an estimate, it's gonna send a text message 24 hours before the estimate date and time. So if you set an estimate for later today, like 4 hours from now, it won't send a text. The estimate has to be more than 24 hours away for that automation to run. There's a few reasons for the automation, but the main one is to hopefully reduce the likelihood of a contact no-showing you. Another great thing is if the person who set the estimate is different from the estimator, it's a great way to introduce the estimator. So I'm going to press Control F for find and type confirmation just to find this quickly and easily. But let's go ahead and see what it says. It says, hi, this is estimator's name with business name. This is just a friendly reminder that I have you scheduled for a free estimate tomorrow at, and then it's going to list the time of the estimate. Now, in order for this to run, you will need to set the estimate through the CRM. What I mean by that is if you were looking at a lead and you book an appointment here, that will automatically move the lead under estimate set, and then that automation will run. If, however, you don't book it through here and like you just were to move the lead to estimate set, the automation would not run. So if we just move one of these leads to estimate set, that won't trigger the automation. You actually have to set the estimate within the CRM. A big reason is just by moving it here, it won't really know what time the estimate is. And I just bring that up to explain it won't run like if you don't have a phone number or you don't set up the calendar, but it's there for you when you need it. And if you're doing a different method beforehand, you don't have to worry about it running. Now, your leads, you may notice your lead call list here is showing all your leads that are in these 4 columns: contact attempted, never messaged back, contacted, follow-up needed, and reschedule previously set estimate. But this unresponsive column is not going to be in your call list. But the system is on your behalf going to follow up with the unresponsive column until they get back to us. All right, so when you put a lead into unresponsive, the system is going to start following up with it every week. So as soon as you put it in unresponsive, it'll wait 1 week and then it'll follow up with the contact, and then it will continue to do so every single week. So there's a 7-day gap in between. And if you're curious about this stuff, it's all written down in a document that's available in this lesson for you. But the CRM will look at the contact and it will see, is there an email and is there a phone number? If we have both an email and a phone number, it will alternate. So 1 week it'll follow up with an email, the next week it'll follow up with a text message, and it'll just go back and forth. However, if all you have is a phone number, then it won't email, it'll just once a week send a text. And it's the same idea if all you have is an email with no phone number, it'll just send emails. So the idea with the unresponsive leads is that it's a waste of your time to continue to manually follow up because they've proven they don't get back to you. But there is still a chance that you could set the estimate. They haven't said no. As far as you can tell, their information is real, meaning it's not a fake phone number or email address. So you should continue to follow up with them. Now, if they respond, meaning they text you back or they email you back, it will stop following up with them and it will send you a message. It's actually going to assign you a task unless you put in the system that you prefer email, but it will say, and the subject or title will be unresponsive lead John Smith or whatever their name is, replied, alerting you that you should take action. You should look at what they said and either set up the estimate, or maybe they said, hey, please stop texting me, I'm not interested, in which case you could move it to the appropriate lead stage. But that'll be the subject or title, and then I'll just let you know, that lead was in the unresponsive lead pipeline stage and in that auto follow-up automation. Toward the end of the video, I'll show you how, if you wanted to, you could remove unresponsive leads from the auto follow-up automation. All right, so let's talk about what I think is the most powerful automation and has really helped my business and my estimators with booking work. All of your set estimates will be here. So let's go ahead and move one of these guys to estimate set, which will create a estimate right here. And if I were to move this to one of the maybe piles, right? So didn't have all decision makers think about it, other estimate, or not painting this year, it's going to automatically follow up. So these 3 are the same. Not painting this year is a little bit different, but very similar. So first let's focus on these 3 maybes, right? So after you do an estimate, you're going to want to fill out what happened. You can manually move it over like this, that's fine. But another way that's just as easy is if you click on the card space, not here, but like right here, it'll open this up. And the first thing I would do is put in, the value you think this estimate is. So what option do you think they're going to go with? It's just nice to put something there so you can kind of understand, how much pending work and opportunity is there. So I'll just put, I think this person's going to go with the option that was this cost here. And in the stage, you're going to put like what happened, right? So they told me other estimates. Go ahead and hit update, and then I'm going to go to this estimate info and I'm going to put what happened here. Mainly, when did I do the estimate? So I'll say I did this today, and then this is the key right here, follow up with estimate date. If you leave this blank, the default is it will follow up 1 week after you put them in one of these 3 categories. So it'll default to 1 week. However, if you put in a follow-up date, it will default to that date. So if I were to put, say, tomorrow, it's going to actually follow up with them tomorrow instead of 1 week. Or I could actually say they told me to follow up with them in a month. If I put it like a month out, it'll follow up with them on this date rather than that 1 week. So I'll press update and it's going to follow up with them on July 26th. So there are 6 text messages and 6 emails that it will send for the estimate follow-up. And the schedule that it will use is it's going to send a text on the date that you select, or it'll wait 1 week from the date you moved them to one of those think about it categories. So first it'll send a text, then 3 days later, it'll send an email if they don't reply to the text. And then 4 days later, it'll send another text. And then it just goes to every week after that. It'll alternate between email and texts until they reply. So it's going to send these 12. There's 6 emails, 6 texts. So it'll start with the text, then it will email, then it will text this and email. And then once it finishes these 12, it'll actually move over to the not painting this year 12 follow-ups. 3 texts, these 3 here, and then there's 4, 5, and 6 right here. And then there's 6 emails, 1 through 6 right here. And it will alternate between the two. So it's a total of 24 follow-ups. And if they don't respond, then you'll actually get a notification at the end just saying, hey, contact name, finish the auto estimate follow-up automation, either manually follow up from now on, abandon the estimate, or add them back to the estimate auto follow-up. Now you'll notice these 2 checkboxes right here. Let's say that you leave this blank, you update one, but you really don't want the system to automatically follow up with this lead for whatever reason. If you check this remove contact from all follow-up automations, then it won't follow up with the estimate. Now let's say that it texts them on the day that you wanted, and they text back and say something like, hey, I need a couple more weeks, follow up with me then. As soon as they respond, it's going to remove them from any auto follow-up. So now you would have to re-add them back into it. So you'd come into here, you would change the date to whenever they said, they're like, hey, give me another week or whatever. You could change the date to when you want to follow up with them again. And then you would click this re-add contact to estimate follow-up automation. That's how you put them back into the follow-up automation. So the first time you do it, you're moving it into one of these categories. The second time, if you need to re-add them, you just click this box on. All right, so now this not painting this year is a little bit different. If you were to list somebody as not painting this year, it'll follow up with them, but instead of the default for this being 1 week, if you leave this blank, it's going to wait a full year before it follows up with them. So it's the same as the others, that if you put a date here, it's going to follow up with them whenever that date is. But the difference is if you don't put a date here, it'll actually wait a whole year rather than 1 week. The other thing is it doesn't actually send the estimate auto follow-ups. It goes straight into this not painting this year. So you can see the first one is, hi, name. This is the estimator with painting company. I gave you an estimate back on, and then I'll say the date since it's been a while. At that time I wrote down we were going to hold off on painting. I just wanted to follow up and see if you're ready to schedule. So, let's say that it's October. They say, I'm not going to do it this year. Call me in the spring. You could put the follow-up date for, like March 15th, and I'll follow up with them in spring. Or if you didn't put a date, it's going to wait all the way till that next October to follow up with them. And then it will go through the 12 not painting this year, alternating. First time it'll text them. It'll wait 1 week. Second time it'll email them, wait a week, and just go back and forth till all 12 of these are sent. And if they do not respond, then you'll get a notification letting you know they finished the follow-up and didn't respond. Now, when a contact is in the estimate auto follow-up and they do reply, meaning they text you back or reply to the email, first you're going to get a notification letting you know that they texted or emailed, but you'll also get another notification letting you know that they were in the estimate auto follow-up automation, and it'll basically say, contact name was in the estimate auto follow-up and was just removed because they called or messaged us. Re-add them to estimate follow-up if necessary. So it's just kind of a reminder letting you know, like, hey, now because they replied, the system is no longer going to auto follow up with them, because they might reply with, hey, I was curious, what was your schedule again? And then you answer back, and then if you just leave it at that, they won't ever get followed up with again. So you'd want to re-add them, or you can actually schedule another message. So those are the 3 auto follow-ups that are built in. If you're ever wondering, is a contact in an auto follow-up, you can actually check. You'd want to go to the contact, and down at the bottom where it says automation here, you can click this to open it up, and it'll show you any active automations. So you can see this contact is active in the estimate auto follow-up automation. If we go to our leads and look at this one that's in the unresponsive right here, let's scroll down and look. Yeah, we can see follow up with unresponsive leads. So it's there. And if you wanted to remove them, you can just click right here and press OK, and that will remove that contact from that automation.